Join the Brave Enough podcast with Julianne Williams. Renew, recreate, recover you.
Hi friends, this is Julianne Williams and welcome to my podcast. This episode, I wanted to spend some time talking about the physical pain of grief. I have to tell you, the part of grief I never would have anticipated was the physical pain that I experienced after the loss of my husband. I expected to be sad. I knew I'd cry. I knew that I would have sleepless nights, but I never thought that I would be in so much pain that I would literally be paralyzed at times. So how did that feel? Well, for me, it was terrible. It was awful. It was unimaginable. When I look back, I recall being in so much pain, I couldn't cook dinner for my children. I couldn't get out of bed, and no meds helped. My body felt heavy to the point that I didn't want to move. And to be honest, I couldn't move. Conversely, when it was time to sleep, that was out of my reach. My eyes would not close. My body would not relax. It felt like hell, or at least what I thought or imagined hell would be like. I want to talk about some of the common physical symptoms of grief because we focus so much on the emotional side of what we expect to feel and what others expect for us to feel. The truth is, it's because our mind is processing so much, our body is working in tandem, trying to find a way to heal and to find some homeostasis. And there comes this pain that we would have never expected, or at least I didn't. It's hard to believe that next week I will be 17 years into my grief journey. Through this, I've had the opportunity to learn more about what I went through after the death of my husband. But this experience could be caused by so many areas of our lives that shock our system and throw us into a grief response, such as losing a child, losing a close loved one, a friend, your job, or the news of a very significant health change. Grief can cause changes in our body that affect our mind and vice versa. Most people think, like I said, about crying, sleepless nights, exhaustion, but there really is so much more. Again, my personal experience was quite different than I could have ever imagined. Both the short-term physical issues and some of the long-term effects that plagued me and at times still do. Most had no idea that I was even having this experience because I didn't discuss it very openly. Of course, my family and my best friends knew of the difficulties. The stress caused by the grief and demands of the loss of my husband had distinct effects that only could have been related to my loss. Many of them were new. I'd never, again, experienced them before. So what did that look like? First, as I mentioned, my body felt like the heaviest weight one could ever carry. Moving was purposeful. Examples are that I tried to cook dinner. Instead, I laid my head on the counter crying. How long did that last? I have no idea. It could have been 3 minutes, 30 minutes, or 3 hours. I still have that mental picture of myself being catatonic. Time didn't exist. Did my kids eat? Yes. How did that happen? I really don't know sometimes how that actually did occur because I was so embroiled in that physical pain. Getting out of bed? Impossible. Life felt very dark. There was not enough sunshine to wake me from the depth of my loss. I had to convince myself that I had to move. The kids had to go to school. I had to go to work. It was almost like ankle and wrist weights holding me down. Sleep? What was that? I couldn't get out of bed, but I can guarantee you I was not asleep. I had one child on each side. They were sad, anxious, and aching for their dad. Life was turned upside down. So, in addition to the thoughts that wouldn't leave my mind, I couldn't get comfortable. I had to watch them, even while they slept, to make sure that their needs were met. What if they hadn't been there? My mind was still on overdrive. Sleep was not a part of my existence. Let's talk about appetite and eating. You may experience undereating, which was my problem, or overeating. Food can become something in our life that we actually can control. I know I lost my appetite and the ability and interest in eating food. My weight went down almost 35 pounds, which at that time was a lot for me. We also have to be careful for abuse of food, alcohol, or drugs. These substances affect the chemicals in our brains, and the awareness during our grief may not be present on how we are nourishing our bodies or the effects that some of the things that we put in our bodies may have. The other part about that is that you also may experience, nausea and that kind of thing. So it's just not surprising that your stomach feels like it's just turning and turning and turning. Then, wow, my immune system failed me. I ended up having an unidentifiable blood disorder. They knew it was there, but they didn't know what was causing it. When the doctors looked at my labs, they were normal the year before my husband died. Abnormal and affecting me the year after. After a bone marrow biopsy and so many other diagnostic tests, they were unable to determine why I was having the problems they discovered. Even the doctors at Harvard Medical School did a record review, and there was truly no reason physically that they could find. Well, we know it was grief. So you may find yourself getting sick more often in the past, having allergies, etc. For me, this was not expected. Now, the good news is about 2 years ago, I began to see changes, and now all of my blood work is normal. And to that, I say, thank you, Jesus. But again, for me, it proves that it was a grief response. Now, looking back, I think a lot of this was caused by changes I noticed in my digestive system. In the last few years, there's been a lot of talk about how digestive health affects our general health. I did find out during my tests that all of a sudden I had deficiencies in the vital minerals that affected my body's ability to produce the white blood cells and platelets. Why? The inability to absorb the nutrients my body needed. Due to increased inflammation of my digestive system, I couldn't properly utilize the food as fuel for my body. Anxiety or sadness may cause you not to eat enough, too much, or food that is not healthy. And as I said, you might feel nauseated, you might eat everything in sight, have constipation, or diarrhea. None of these symptoms allow our bodies to work properly and can have significant effects on our health. Another thing you may experience is an increase in just pure physical pain. That for me was actually the most shocking symptom besides the heaviness of my body that I described when I was trying to move. Stress hormones are being released and you may have pain in your back, joints, headaches, or decreased range of motion. And these are normal responses to grief. Last, we hear so much about people dying from a broken heart after they lose someone they love. This is not just emotional. The physical manifestations are caused from decreased blood flow that mimics feelings of heart attack. It may feel like chest pain, shortness of breath, or pain in the upper arms. Now, if you experience any of this, please call your health practitioner or 911 because you can't be too careful. With that said, you also may find out that your physical feelings are caused by your intense emotional response to your loss. So what can we do about all of this? First, reach out to your social network. We need people while we adjust and reestablish our life after loss. Second, exercise. That means a walk or your preferred method of getting your body moving. You don't have to run 10 miles. You just need to find a way to increase your blood flow, move your body, and it will release some of those really good brain chemicals that will help lift your mood a little bit. Another thing to do is to find a therapist, counselor, or life coach because you need someone to confide in and work through your thoughts and emotions. Talking things out can be validating and it can allow us to get those persistent thoughts out of our minds that just keep ruminating over and over again. Also, it's really important to pay attention to your diet. Don't over or undereat. Watch the substances you are taking, such as alcohol or drugs. Record what you eat so you can see how you're doing. And don't put yourself in situations where you might overindulge in substances that could cause harm to your body or your mind. Last, do what makes you happy. Read a book to make space from reality. Take a bath. Spend time with family or friends or your pets. Cook, watch a movie, whatever it is that brings you enjoyment. Find something that feels, quote, normal and joyful, because that will allow you to reconnect to you. Now, for me, faith was a really big piece of my healing journey. Knowing God had a purpose to make what I was going through become something that was good was important to me. When we can reach for something bigger than us and our life, I think that helps ground our emotions. For example, if this podcast helps one person, my struggles feel vindicated because all of the pain was used for something good, better, and bigger than just my life. Focusing on life outside of our personal and current situation does provide great comfort. In closing, I promise you are brave enough to get through what you are grieving. Be kind to yourself. Know that what you are going through as you grieve is normal. Most importantly, you are on a journey that is yours and yours alone, and you can make choices to build a future that you will love. And I know what you're going through right now is difficult, and I am so sorry that you have to walk this path. Time matters, hope matters, and you matter. So take really good care of your body so that your mind can heal as well. Thank you all for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode, if you would please do me the kind favor of liking, sharing, and subscribing, I would appreciate it very much. Have a really good day. Thank you.
If you are inspired by this podcast, leave a review and share it with your friends. You can always connect with Julianne Williams at juliannewilliams.com.